Mannerism emerged in Rome and Florence between 1510 and 1520 in response to the Renaissance style hysteria that was going on at the time. Mannerism was, in its essence, a counteraction against the Renaissance style, and is characterized as anti-classical and anti-Renaissance. Later on, Mannerism was also characterized as expressing inward intellectual and spiritual ideas. Mannerism paintings tended to be more artificial and less naturalistic than Renaissance paintings. Mannerism is a result of numerous changes in the way humanity perceived itself during the time. Copernicus proved that the Earth was not the center of the galaxy, and that rather it revolved around the sun. This contradicted the Church's teachings that the Earth was the center of the galaxy and the throne of God. Magellan circumnavigated the globe, which proved that the Earth was spherical and that Europe was not at the center. This created a loss of faith and a loss of harmony. The art of Mannerism is the art of a changing world that felt the need for a new language. Mannerism reflects the uncertainty that was felt by a majority of people during the time. New artists also felt they could not perfect the art of the old artists, and so felt they needed to reinvent themselves. They made new goals by turning around the traditional artistic canon and changing things up in a way that would allow them to become the masters of their style. This approach aimed at showing what is only available to the inner eye and invisible to the real eye. Characteristics of Mannerism include emotionalism, elongated human figures, strained poses, unusual effects of scale, light, or perspective, and vivid, often garish colors. A perfect example of Mannerist art would be Jacopo Pontorme's Deposition from the Cross in the Capponi Chapel in Florence. The contortion of the elongated bodies, which bend in odd ways to support the weight of Christ and the weight of human sin, might also be signs of the overwhelming sadness and grief that the followers are feeling upon seeing Jesus Christ dead before them. The intense emotionalism and the brightness of the pinks and blues worn, as well as the unrealistic placement of the figures, further mark this as a Mannerist work. The Renaissance painters were intent on capturing perspective and form realistically, and were especially obsessed with the perfection of all form. However, in having Mary fall backwards into the arms of two individuals, who are placed much higher and seem taller though the ground line is not visible, Pontormo is abandoning the rules of the Renaissance style and creating a work of art that does not follow the previous conventions. Another example of a Mannerist painting would be El Greco's The Burial of Count Orgaz, in which Don Gonzalo Ruiz is shown being lowered into his tomb by St. Augustine and St. Stephen. The gentleness with which they lower his falling armored body gives the impression that they are lowering him down into a physical tomb, located somewhere beyond the painting itself. Among the crowd gathered to watch this scene are leading Franciscan, Augustinian, and Dominican friars, and numerous other orders, like the elite military religious order of Santiago. This is strange because it would have been impossible for these contemporary individuals to have witnessed a historical event along with two saints, which are burying the body. Above, the figures in heaven have a more ethereal and dynamic quality because of the looser brushstrokes El Greco used. He also used cooler colors, which give a more shimmering, reflective quality. The elongated figures of Christ, Mary, and John the Baptist seem almost to dematerialize along with the clouds. The clouds on which they are sitting help separate the earth from heaven and add to the sense of movement that accumulates at the top. The emotionalism is evident in each of the individual portraitures below, as well as in the heavenly figures above. The figures above are elongated, while the figures below are doused with a mysterious, somber light from a hidden light source. For these reasons, this painting can be considered a very good example of Mannerist art.